Hello and good evening. This is Dave Corum here. Welcome to The Truth is Simple. This is episode number 5, and today is October 10th, October 10th, 2023. Today we're going to talk about choice. Some call it free will, making decisions and so forth. This is going to build off episode 3 where we talked a little bit about morals and values. If you remember, we talked about the bike hit and run here in Las Vegas a few weeks back, and those were juveniles that stole some cars and hit a couple older guys on bikes and killed one of them, who happened to be a retired police chief from California. So we're going to talk about choice. What kind of choice did those guys have to make that decision that day to jump in that car? They actually stole 3 cars from what I heard on the news. Don't know if that's 100% true, but we do know that they did take some video of at least the second one where they killed the second person. Gentleman is 64. I don't recall his first name. Last name is Probst. So they did do video of it. What made them take the choice to do that as well? Why, for any reason, would you take and record yourself committing a crime, a murder, and then share it with other people? Freedom of choice, right? We can do as we please. That's what our country has kind of led us, and our government and everything that's on the news media, wherever we're getting our information from, whether it's here on the internet or whether it's on television or radio or through your phone, wherever it's coming from. Hey, you guys have the decisions to make your own choices and do what you want, right? Why would you do something like that? It just did not make sense. So as we're looking at choices and free will, it's actually a gift that was given by God. Free will, Adam and Eve, if you're familiar with that story. Eve grabbed the apple off the tree of truth and knowledge, right? Interesting. And took a bite. They both did. And when they found out they had bitten that apple, they found themselves naked in the Garden of Eden. All of a sudden, they came to a realization that, hey, life is not what it is. They made a choice. And now, ever since then, us as mankind have been making choices on our own. Depending on who's in power at the governmental level, you may have more choices or not, and that's probably why so many people around the world are fleeing to the United States. Little do they know that our choices are going to be taken away here if we don't stop those in the next couple of years. Quicker than you know, it's going to disappear. We have a choice to sit on the couch and do nothing. We have the choice to make vlogs like this and talk. We have a choice to sleep in the morning or sleep in the morning, or sleep in at night, or go to bed early, or stay up late. We have little choices when it comes to work or school. If you're a student or if you have a job, so you're out of school, maybe you're in both. You're in school, as I did. Got my bachelor's degree and my master's degree, being married and already having a couple kids and being in a full-time job. So kind of limit your choice, but I made the choice to go to school to get those degrees and to enhance my life, to hopefully make more money for me and my family, which is another thing, the lust of money. I, in my youth, I'm going to be 61 next week. I, in my youth, was chasing after, like all of us, so much of us, money and things and that type of stuff. So if you're in that part of your life, you'll come to a realization that just like a shovel is used for digging a hole in the ground for whatever reasons, maybe you're digging a trench to bury yourself, or maybe you're digging the foundation to your next house. I don't know. Or maybe you're putting in a fence to fence post to put a fence up around your house to protect you, right? These are all choices that we make. Some choices have little or no effect on our lives, and some choices have quite a bit of effect on our lives. I made the choice to go into law enforcement. I made the choice to open a business on the side. I made the choice to go back to school while I'm working full-time. I made the choice of getting married. I made the choice of having kids. Not really. They were all accidents, all 4 of them. We didn't schedule any of them. I'm not ashamed of having any of them at the time. And I kind of planned to have 4 kids. So that turned out all right on that end. But I didn't suggest or look at the timing frame as far as when we were going to have, hey, honey, let's try to have a kid right now, or not. They just happen. So all kinds of choices go through your life. I've made some good choices. I've made some bad choices. I've made some choices that have cost me money, and I've made choices that have made me money. But going back to money and the shovel, money is just a tool. It's a way of purchasing or commerce to pay off this to get this. For example, it takes money to buy a house. I could have sold 10,000 cows or sheep or whatever, if I had a farmland somewhere and traded those for a house somewhere, right? So it's a mechanism for bartering. It's a tool, same as a shovel is, and that's what I taught my kids in high school, my students in high school. Money's just a tool, but if you're chasing after it, it becomes an issue and a problem for you because it's going to make you make bad decisions about how you're going to obtain that money. So don't let that bad choice lead you down the wrong path. If you're broke because you were chasing money and you didn't get any money, now you made the choice to go commit theft, which then has the consequences on the backside of possibly going to jail or going to prison for a period of time based upon the choice that you made. If you have family outside, maybe that bad decision, now you're not going to see your kids, your spouse or whatever, which may lead to divorce. And if you bought a house, the loss of your house and all those types of things. So you're just one bad decision, one choice, your free will has got you into the spot where you are in your life. Maybe you're sitting on a couch thinking, hey, I'm never going to find a job. Well, get off the couch, get outside, go door to door. There's signs everywhere to find a job. But I don't want to work as a dishwasher. I don't want to work as a janitor. I don't want to work as this or that. I started off working in a warehouse, my first job. Somebody saw me doing a great job there, and I quickly got promoted within about a month and a half, 2 months, and that part-time job would turn into a full-time job, which then eventually led into law enforcement and then teaching and owning business and owning what I have now, a couple of houses. So making choices is important in your life to make the right decisions. How do I know I'm going to make the right decisions? You're not all the time. Using a mentor, finding somebody that's been through that process already is a good tool. Reading books. If you're looking to make money in the stock market or something like that, as for your IRA or for your 401k, or if you're going to invest individually on your own, then reading a book, figuring that out, talking to people, getting on watching it on TV, but you're doing that for a purpose to figure out how things are working. Getting on the internet. YouTube is great. There are other channels like Rumble and I think it's called Vimeo or something like that, Vimeo, where there are channels too which have plenty of videos out there you could watch just to filter through and see what's good, what's not good. You'll probably find that out relatively quickly as you do the background research and the study on it. Did you hear that? Background study and research. Same with moving from a job to a job. Hey, I was in law enforcement looking to get out. What could I do? I had an AA degree. I was in law enforcement for 17 years. How am I going to get out of law enforcement? I had to make a decision. An opportunity with Indian gaming in Southern California opened up. I took a leap of faith and I jumped into a regulatory compliance position for Harris Rencon. Timing is sometimes important. I mean, you're not just going to jump, but I knew they were opening up these casinos. So I just went there and thought Harris was a good brand name. It's in Las Vegas. They probably know what they were doing. So that's the route I took and the way I went. And they just happened to have the job openings at the time because they were looking to open up within the next couple of weeks. So timing is everything at times. They were looking for somebody with my kind of background in law enforcement to fill this position. Hard to find kind of jobs and so forth, or find people for those types of jobs. And it was a perfect fit. So I jumped right in and took it over. But the issue was I didn't have to take a big pay reduction. If I wanted to leave law enforcement, how do I cross that barrier from law enforcement into a job in the regular community? I had been there for almost 17 years. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to take a job that I'm making $56,000 a year, and I'm going to go jump in a job somewhere that I'm going to make $25,000 or $30,000 a year. I couldn't afford to do that. Car payments, house payments, 4 kids, married, bills. It couldn't happen. It took me 8 years to get out of law enforcement when I figured I wanted to leave. 8 years because I didn't know how to get out. But making choices, doing some education, and figuring that process out helps. So making the right choices, free will is important. if you don't like where you are right now, you need to start figuring out ways to make better choices. And because you still have free will, unless this becomes a socialist communist country, which it's moving in that direction, yeah, and your free will be taken from you, your freedom of choice will be taken from you. How's the driving a gasoline vehicle working for you today? How is running and I mean by that, have you seen the cost of vehicles and you've seen the cost of gas? It doesn't need to be like that. But because the choices, the person we voted into office as president has made choices in that area, we've ended up what we have. How about inflation at 10 to 15% a year over the last 3 years? Yeah, that too, that was a consequence of the decisions we made to put that person into office. You need to do your own research and homework and figure it out. Maybe that was not a good choice by us as a country, as a group of citizens, right? How do we get out of that? Well, we're stuck for another 2.5 years roughly until he leaves office one way or another. I'm talking about his age. I mean, nobody lives forever. He could just pass away. And then we're going to end up with a vice president who's not qualified. I don't care if the vice president is a female, male. I don't care who the president is, as long as they do a good job and make this a free country where we continue to have choice and free will. And so anyway, enough harping on that one. What are you going to do with your life to use your free will and choice to make better decisions? You're the only one that can get you out of where you are. There's a lot of information out there. You got to find it and research it. And sometimes you got to go into a spot where you may not want to be. I did not want to be in law enforcement from year 8 to year 17. There were things that happened in my law enforcement career, and I was more of an entrepreneur. And so being told what to do and how to do it every day and showing up at the same time became kind of boring and mundane. I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. And so I took some opportunities and got out. So what are you going to do to get out? When I transitioned from the gaming industry into education 8 years later, 10 years later, I had a plan in place. It took me basically 1.5 years to get my teaching credential, my master's degree in education, and to land a job. So 1.5 years is a little bit shorter than 8 years for that first transition, but I knew how to do it. And I knew that I needed to make some contacts and build some relationships with people with where I wanted to go into education. And I did that by being a campus supervisor, going from a general manager at a casino, running the whole operation, to being kind of the lowest guy on the totem pole, campus supervisor, security at a high school, part-time while I was getting my bachelor's degree and my master's degree and my teaching credentials. And then having to work somewhere else. Loved that job, which was working for Marine Corps Community Services on Camp Pendleton and the educational section, the Joint Education Center, where I helped Marines and Navy personnel and their spouses get through educational processes where there was tuition assistance or taking some kind of test they were taking from for the military or from a college they were taking online somewhere. They'd come in and we'd assist them with that process. So that was very fulfilling and enjoyable. And at that point, there was a mass exodus going out of the Marine Corps. They were downsizing from about 120,000 to around 80,000. So that's a huge drop in staffing throughout the Marine Corps because the wars were coming to an end and they revved up for them. And now it's time to downsize back down to where it would be at a time of no war. So what were those people? They were making tons of decisions. Hopefully we were trying to help them make better decisions and good decisions on their exit out of the military. Some we helped, and I'm sure there were some that were frustrated and ended up living on the streets, unfortunately. And there is help out there for them, but they need to make a decision. They need to use their free will, the God-given free will, to help themselves up and out from where they are. I almost filed bankruptcy 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago now. And I made some poor choices back then. I was luckily able to work my way that I didn't have to go through bankruptcy. But maybe we'll save that for a later time or another time. But it's all choice. It's all choice. So with that, Making better decisions. We're going to finish that today, or making free or better decisions. Yeah, freedom of choice and free will. We're going to end on that right here today. I hope this kind of brought you along a little bit. There are resources out there. You just got to take some time and find it. Books at the bookstore, books online through Amazon or some other book type store. Take the time to read, educate yourself. Getting out, finding a mentor would be good. Find a mentor. Getting on YouTube or one of those other Rumble or one of those other websites that has videos on there where you can investigate for yourself and finding ways to get out of where you're at or getting into where you're trying to get into. All right. So lots of tools out there, way more today than there was when I was trying to get out of mine 30 years ago, 25 years ago. So it's there for you. You may not like what you heard today, and that's okay, because the truth is simple, and sometimes the truth hurts. I know. I tell that to my kids, and I told it to my students almost every day. You don't like what your grade is today? Well, the truth is you didn't study for it. Well, the truth is you chose to do something else than prepare yourself for the test. Or truth is you decided not to come to class on that day that we talked about these things, and when you came back, you didn't ask anything of me to assist you for the test. That's all on you. All right. I never failed anybody when I taught. They failed themselves. So with that said, we'll talk to you next week. In fact, I'm going to kind of give you the topic we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about this month was Columbus Day on October 9th. And what happened to that national holiday? It's gone somewhat. And we're going to talk to you about Armistice Day, which is in November on the 11th. What is Armistice Day? You're going to find out. And we're going to talk about why those holidays have kind of transitioned and somewhat disappeared or have been modified or changed, along with some of our other holidays throughout the year. So what's up with that? Why are our holidays changing? And we're going to talk about it next week. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week at the same time, same place. Take care.